Hi, Kaelyn. Thank you so much for joining me on her wealthy mindset today.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. Could you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Cindy said, my name's Kaylin. I am a wife. I'm a mom to two kiddos. We are currently in Northern California. I am a business coach and virtual assistant agency owner. And, when I'm not serving my incredible clients, you'll probably find us outside, like hiking or playing pickleball, all the fun things as a mom and a wife. That's super important to me too. But I absolutely freaking love what I do every day with work, and I definitely feel like I could do it of all hours of the day, so I'm actually thankful I'm a mom and a wife, so I can, be elsewhere, but yeah, it's been such a fun journey.
I love that you're super passionate and building a business around your lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge for me, for sure.
Now, let's start off with where your journey began. I know you openly share that you were laid off from your previous job and then got into your business. What was that like? Did you see it coming or did it come out of nowhere?
It was a little bit of both, actually. It's a great question. I don't think anyone's ever asked it to me like that because 'cause you're right, I do openly share about it, and so going into that, it was, like, my dream job, for what I thought anyway, and it was so it started out really good. It was kinda like a toxic relationship where it's like, when it was good, it was, like, really good. When it was bad, it was, like, really bad, but, I mean, it started out really good. I mean, to the point where they paid for us to move back to where we live now because that's where they're based out of.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and it's like, "We're gonna do family," like, it was like, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible. I would've just came back just to work for you, but, like, we're gonna do family? Great." And so, along the way, it again, started out really good, and along the way, there was, like, empty promises and, blame and things that were, like, really rocky, but I really felt committed, like, I'm supposed to stay here. Like, I'm supposed to serve these people. I'm supposed to, like, hold them accountable even. So towards the end, I was with them for, I wanna say 3 or 4 years. Towards the end, I knew I was like, "I need to go somewhere else. I need to, like, leave." But it was very hard for me because it was security. Like, I knew when my paycheck was coming. I knew how much. It helped us, budget perfectly for vacations and all the things, and I was actually on vacation, a month before I was let go and was like, "I know I need to leave. I don't know what I wanna do, and I don't know I don't wanna go back to an office job." Again, I have 2 kids. So we jumped on a call and they let me go and gave me 30 days, and I was like, "Okay." Well, it was
wow.
so it, like, wa I wasn't expecting it, but because of everything that happened, you would think that, like, "Oh, this may be the next step." I will just say one more thing, like, it was also administrate, so there was, like, a level of, like, they would never do that to me, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah, so it was really painful, but now I'm obviously so thankful, but it was something that kinda, like, shocked me awake, and I was like, "Oh, crap," so, yeah.
Yeah. And did that give you enough time to figure out, starting your business, having, a safety net when it came to money, or were you kinda just, winging it?
Great question too. Yeah, no, I so we definitely had savings, not a whole lot, I would say, just, like, enough, but also, again, I wasn't prepared. I think, like what you're saying, like, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna line something up," right? So I got laid off August 1st, they gave me till August 31st, and I was like, this time period, like, "What am I gonna do?" I ended up not even fully knowing when I was laid off, I was like, "Okay, maybe I started looking online. At that time, I saw, like, digital marketing where they sell, like, courses that was already created, so I was like, "Let me try that." I feel like,
Yeah.
that did not go well. That was actually my first attempt before starting my virtual assistant business. So then I found a girl talking about becoming a virtual assistant and, like, the possibility of that, and I was like, I could
Right.
do that. Like, I could absolutely do that. So that actually, 2 weeks, put my head down. So I officially launched my virtual assistant business September 26th of 2023. So it was actually a little bit past the time where I was, like, not with them. So again, we had some savings, but there was a big realization at one point at the beginning of September. My husband's like, "You are making $0." Like, I straight currently making $0 an hour right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a little scary. I've also honestly, and he wouldn't mind me sharing this. I've always been the breadwinner, and I've always made more most of the time. Even like when he had like a really amazing job, I was still getting commission for sales. So it's like I've always made more. So it was very like, oh, you're still bringing in money, but I was bringing in more than you. So me too. Yeah.
And then was it easy to find clients right away when you started up your virtual assistant services, or did that take a while as well?
So for me, I actually really thankfully I landed a client within my first 2 weeks of launching, who's actually still a client. Yeah, to this day, she's still a client, which I'm, like, so proud of. I think that's, like, the best thing ever, and I love her. Um, so that was really cool. It was, like, proof of concept. I kinda just, like, was delusional and, like, she posted something about needing a help with something, and I popped into her DMs. Like, she's, like, a content creator, hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm like, "I could do this." We jumped on a call. Just, like, I think I was just so, like, shellbound, like, I have to make money, which is, like, how I wanna be anyway, but I was just like, "Of course, yeah, I can do this, let's do this." I told her to
Yeah.
fire her VA and hire me, and she did. She's like, "Oh, wow."
Wow.
It was very bold. Looking back, I'm like, if I can channel that energy every day, that would be amazing. Um, but then from there, I think that was like proof of concept for me. So then, the next month I landed like a project, but then I landed another monthly client, and then it grew from there. Within 6 months, I was already like making projected to make six figures my first year, which I did, which I'm super thankful.
Wow.
And then yeah, I just got booked out, and I made actually, this is fun. I have to share this. My first hire for my agency, the first hire I ever made, was someone who was laid off from the same company on the same day as me, and she's
Wow.
also, like, my best friend now. So that was, like, a cool redemption story, but she was my first hire, and yeah, everything just kinda blew up from
That's
there.
so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you, like, eventually start hiring, and, like, did you start your prices off low and then you slowly increase them? Because I know that's, like, a tough point too when you start off, like, you price your services low, and then you're taking on anybody and everybody, and then you just kinda bring yourself out and you're just like, "I need to hire."
Yeah. So, actually, ironically enough, my first client, she didn't pay me so she started paying me. She pays us obviously more now, but she paid me $700 a month, which I was like, "Okay, this isn't bad." Because I coach a lot of VAs now too who, like, they start, like, $200 to $300 a month, and I'm like, "That's, like, way too low." Um, but so from there, though, and then my second client that I landed, she again, I kinda, like, delusionally bold, like, "I'm gonna do this for me and my family." I was on the we did a phone call, and she just, like, threw out a bunch of things she may need. This was, like, super informal, don't recommend, but I was like, "Okay, I think for that amount, it'd be 1,500 a month." She's like, "Okay, great." And I was like, "What just happened?" I don't even know where I pulled it was a good number. For what I was doing, it was a good number. But I was like, I think so from there for me, just being bold and, like, being like, because after I landed the $700 client, I was like, 1,000's my minimum. I'm not going lower.
Right.
So then, from there, it kinda set the bar of, like, I can't go lower. So I did it. Like,
Right.
I, like, stayed consistent. Then I made my first hire, after 6 months is when I brought my friend Mariah on, and because people kept reaching out to me. But here's what happened, which is interesting. When you start hiring a team, I hired Mariah, then I hired a couple other girls. Now I have a team of 6, they're incredible. But something happened along the way that I, like, have to share about because 'cause I'm like, I've heard it happens to a lot of people who start hiring teams, not everyone, but for me, it happened
Yeah.
where I started hiring people. The mental load of, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm responsible for someone's, like, livelihood," made me actually go backwards and bring on clients to the agency who are paying lower for the sake of, like, well, I wanna make sure I can pay my team, which is, like, so weird. It's normally, like, the other way around, but for me, I was like, "Oh, okay, you can't do our minimum. You can come on a little lower," just because I was like, "Well, I wanna make sure I can pay my girls. I wanna make sure I can pay my girls." Obviously, I'm not doing that anymore, but it was such a weird phenomenon that I dealt with in like, last year, towards the end of last year, where I realized there was a couple clients who I'd let on at lower rates than our minimum is 1,500, so I let them on I think, like, 1,000, which again, not terrible, it's not terrible, but for, like, having a team and, like, things that are happening within an agency, I was like, "Why did I do that? Why why would I do that?" But it's, like, that mental weird scarcity that, like, tries to kick in of, like, "Oh my gosh, I need to make sure my girls are taken care of," so we don't do that anymore, but that yeah, that was super interesting.
How long did it take for you to become aware of that and, like, make the switch?
That was so I think the last summer is when I started hiring girls. So all my girls were pretty much hired by August, except the one that I have kind of more new. But so I hired April, then I hired June, July, and August, like the girls on my team. So around that time, August, I started bringing on clients who were like paying lower. And then November came around and I've invested in coaching and all that. And I'm like talking to my coach and I'm, like, realizing the she's, like, making me break everything down so we could see, and I'm like she's like, "What is up with these 3 clients over here?" I'm like, "I don't know," and I'm, like, telling her everything, and so August to November, they were there for a while, August to October, that's, like, 3, 4 months, and I had to, like, draw a line in the sand. At the end of November, I was like, "Okay, I'm done doing this." But I mean, they were there paying that amount of time, and it honestly caused way more stress because they weren't even, then they're not the best clients. Then it's
Yeah.
like we're nickel and diming. It was a whole thing. So yeah.
Did you ever feel, like, guilty, like, spending money on, like, hiring? Because I feel like a lot of times people hold themselves back too, like, "I'm barely paying myself, like, why would I hire?"
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. And I actually think like I'm more of like a dreamer, like very like, oh, we'll just land another client. But then like, reality hits and you're like, "Should I have done that?" I always am like, "Ah." So, yeah, there's definitely months where even out of, like, old habits and beliefs where I am like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even should I just take on the work myself?" Right? Like, should I just do it myself and, like, not give it to them? Um, and so, yeah, there was definitely some times where I would question even, like, my parents and you know what's funny? Like, you learn all this stuff as when you're young, especially, but even my
Yeah.
parents, like, "Stop hiring people." I'm like, "What a weird thing to say." But then it would affect me, and I'm like, "Wait, should I stop hiring people? Should I be" you know? And my dream for my
Yeah.
team is always, like, long-term vision, like, that's what I want, and I want them to be invested as much as I'm invested in them. And so, I'm like, "Well, I want them to grow with me," and obviously, that would be, like,
Right.
I would love to pay them more down the line, and, like, continue to, like, give them bonuses and all the things. So that's, like, my hope that they would come on and know that, but it's still, yeah, super scary, I would say, especially, like, beginning of months. I'm, like, doing math, like, "Okay, is it good?" And it always is, it's just, like, it can be scary to, like, have that as a part of what you're doing with your business.
Yeah, totally, and, did you feel like you had to cut back on paying yourself, or you've been able to pay yourself consistently?
No, there
Also
was
from your team?
oh my gosh, that's not talked about enough either. Multiple
Yeah.
months. It couldn't like, I literally was like, "No, I need to not. It needs to stay in the business account because I don't wanna, like, go negative." And I saw I don't know if you know Brooke from Coastal Collective. They're a social media agency. So we're a little different, obviously, in our operations and things, but I gleaned a lot from her when I was launching. And, she shared about how she went, like, multiple months without paying herself. And when I first launched, that wasn't an issue, so I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is great, I'm paying myself." And then there was a couple months where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think I can pay myself." And I had to, like, be like, "Okay, it's okay. People have" I mean, her agency's like seven-figure agency now. And so I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
it's okay, we can do that." But part of me is like, where was the breakdown? Like, looking back, I'm like, there was a breakdown somewhere where it's like, again, it was me paying for bringing on clients at lower rates. You know what I mean? It was, like, all my own stuff that could have been prevented, which is why I love talking about this because 'cause I'm like, people need to know, like, you don't have to cave for certain things, and you should pay yourself. Like, you should always pay yourself, you know?
Yeah, I always say, like, we leave our 9 to 5s to start a business for, like, time freedom and to pay ourselves more, but we end up being, like, a 9 to 5 employee of our own business
100%.
that never gets paid.
True.
And then after you started your agency, what led you to, like, hiring and training, like, other VAs to start their own businesses?
Yeah, so I kinda, like, fell into that almost and then fell in love with it, but when I started, sharing my own journey, on Instagram, I would get so many DMs because I would share, like, when I was onboarding clients or discovery calls and all that, just so many DMs from other virtual assistants, like, "What are you doing? How are you landing clients?" And for a while, like, I was just answering their questions, like, in the DMs, and then I realized I was like, "Wait, I feel like I could teach this because it was also bringing me so much joy to do that in my DMs, And so I was like, "Well, I don't know what that'll look like, but maybe I can just create a guide." That was the first thing I ever did, created like a guide A to Z, for someone to start a virtual assistant business. And I actually someone asked I was on a podcast yesterday, funnily enough, and they asked me like, how did you start coaching?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it happened pretty quick because I launched in September and the guide was released February 14th, of Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow.
But it was yeah, it just came out of, like, people asking me questions. So I, like, gathered all the questions. I was like, "Okay, let me create a resource where I could just sell it." And then from there, it just obviously expanded into, like, coaching and masterminds and all that. But, that part of my business, I'm also just so obsessed with as well.
So how do you manage your time with running your own agency plus coaching other VAs?
Yeah, so great question. So one of the things I do that I think is really helpful, I have call days, which is today. So I have call days on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I feel like it helps me kind of like, okay, I can hone in. Like, I mean, like call days, like back to back, like, which is good. It can be exhausting, but it's like I'd rather not have calls all throughout the week where I'm getting like pulled in a bunch of different directions. So my
Right.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are dedicated to like calls with clients, team, interviews, like discovery calls, check ins, all that. And then Mondays and Fridays is actually, like, my super light day. I really try not to do a whole lot of work on Fridays, um, because it's Fun Friday. But Mondays, yeah, Wednesdays, like, really dedicated work, regardless of, like, what it is. So whether that's, like, um, check-ins with teams, checking in with one-on-one clients, helping, like, the team with client work, different things like that, like, is really focused for that time. So yeah, I feel like that's just really helped me kinda, like, be able to structure in a way where I'm not gonna burn out or feel like, "Oh my gosh, I can't catch a breath," you know?
Yeah, totally makes sense. What advice would you give someone that's like working full time, wants to start a side hustle? Maybe they're thinking of like VA services. Like, is it based on like how many hours they want to put in flexibility? Or do you find as you start getting more clients, it's more time demanding?
So I think if you do it the right way, it doesn't have to be time demanding, especially like as a VA. I know like and honestly, my first advice would be like just start. Like just start stuff. Like figure out, what do you want to do and like start. Take action towards that goal, whatever that looks like. But if you're talking specifically like VA or even like freelancer, I think a lot of VAs and freelancers, social media managers, they all kind of fall into like hourly, like, oh, I'll just work hourly, which again, that's how we're trained, right? In the corporate world, everything's hourly.
Yeah.
Um, but I like really fought against that pretty quickly and was like, even my first client, like, I wasn't like, yeah, it'll be 5 hours for like, we didn't do that. It was just like, hey, these are the tasks. And same thing with my second client. So I realized, like, oh, I can build a package based off, like, deliverables and package it with a price. Now you do wanna do the math, like, how long will things take you? But, like, I feel like I teach a lot of VAs, I'm like, "Okay, put in tax, put in a profit margin, like, put that inside the package and deliver it that way." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, can you do that?" I'm like, "It's your business, you can do whatever you want. Like, you can do literally whatever you want." And so I always teach people, like, right away, you do not have to do hourly. Like, you can build your packages and you're like, "Hey, these are the packages that I have," and you will find clients to pay. I think that's another thing is, like, no one's gonna pay me that rate. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you keep thinking that, no one will. But when you're like, "No, people are out there, they will pay," you're gonna find the right clients.
I love that you teach that to incorporate that in your prices because I find so many business owners that I work with, they're pricing just based on like industry averages, what different coaches have told them, but they're not putting in like the percentage of profit they want, saving for taxes, actually paying themselves.
Yes, that's so huge. Yeah, and I've heard so many horror stories, like, at the end of tax season, like, "I owe this much." I'm like, "Well, did you have it?" Like, "No." I'm like, "Why? Where did it go?"
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Even like I feel like even business expenses, personal expenses,
Yeah,
it varies like person to person and lifestyle. So I feel like your pricing should reflect that too.
absolutely. I totally agree.
What would you say to the woman making money in her business, but hasn't started paying herself and feels like she has to reinvest?
Yeah, I would say you just need to pay like, I I honestly think you'd be happier and actually even more you'd feel more secure once you start paying yourself, which will help you actually in the long run. Like, you are the best investment you'll ever make. And I know people say that and they're like, that's why you should invest in this. And it's like, well, yeah, but you should actually first be investing in yourself, which is why we talk about like investing in your health and like all that. Yes, all that too. But it's like number one, you're the one doing the work and you deserve to be paid. Just like you said, it's like we left our jobs to pay ourselves. It's like having a client who's not paying you a lot, like a low paying client, and then you're resentful for the work you're doing. It's like, no, if you can invest back in yourself first, even if it's like a small amount. I remember there was one month where I was like, should I not pay myself? And I was like, you know what? Yes. I took the amount down, but by like a couple $100. But even doing that, I was like, why would I ever not do this again? It just felt different, like I felt like, oh, duh, of course I'm gonna pay myself, and it's like communicating your value to yourself because you are worth it.
Yeah, 100%. And we hear that a lot about charging your worth, but you teach like actual systems and strategy. So what's your take on like building wealth beyond like affirmations and just saying like you want a certain amount every month?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. If it works for you, love it. Here for it. But, yeah, there's gotta be something more in place. Like, this is the balance I've had. I'm sure you've dealt with it too, Cindy. Like, there's such a thing in the online business world of, like, whether people lean into their masculine or their feminine. It's like,
Right.
"Oh, is it strategy? Is it mindset?" And it's like, "Oh my gosh, what is it?" I feel like for me, I've found it's just gotta be both together. Like, they're married together, like, that's when it's, like, really powerful. Whether one you operate in one over the other, that's fine. But I really think you can't just, like, slap a number on something and be like, "Well, I'm worth that." I mean, like, yeah, you probably are worth that, but if you can like I teach strategically, have a price for something that makes sense. Again, it doesn't have to be based off like the market average, but something that's like, "Oh, this is why I'm charging that." Not only is it gonna be so much easier to say to a client because you actually get it. Like, you say it
Yeah.
more confidently because 'cause you're like, "Oh, this is the price. This is why." Like, duh.
Right.
But also, you will be able to scale more sustainably in the long term because you're gonna provide the service, whatever it is for your client, coaching, freelance services, and then they're gonna see the value that you bring, and you're like, our biggest referrals has been word of mouth because of they're like, "Oh, yeah, pricing makes sense, we can afford it, their services are amazing." Then people will keep coming to you, and that's just, like, organic. So I do think you need to have some sort of reason as why you wanna make what you wanna make, first of all,
Right.
why you wanna charge what you wanna charge. Like, there you can't just, like, show up into the online space or any business to be like, "I'm gonna make 50K." It's just I actually don't agree with that. People are like, "I don't know how it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen." I'm like, "I mean, like, maybe it could,
Yeah.
probably, but, like, what's the service? What are you offering? What's your value? Why are you
What's
pricing?"
your strategy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you work with like different industries or are there specific type of businesses you offer like BA services to?
Yeah, we work with all the industries. I mean, we
Mhm.
market directly to women. We have had guy clients who we love, but we market to women business owners in the online space. So we actually have a lot of content creators. Ironically, the first client
Oh,
I
wow.
worked for was is a content creator. That's why a lot of word of mouth there that happened. But we also have like a psychiatrist who we work with. We have a like mother daughter relationship coach we work with. So we have like some different industries, but the main like, our focus is women in online business. So whether you're a coach, a creator, you have something that you offer online, an online service, that's who we partner with.
And does it matter if they're like in the startup phase or like have been in business for like years?
So as long as you can pay us. So we have so for example, we actually just brought on a client who so she has a consultant job, but she also is building her own brand now. So yeah, we're building her from the bottom up per se, with her social media presence and different things like that. So not really like we actually don't have like an income requirement or any of that. Obviously, we'll build a package for what you're asking for and tell you the price. I guess that would be the only requirement if you could pay for the services. But we really don't like we're not limited to like, "Oh, you don't have a business that you can't come." When I actually first started as a VA, one of my clients, I helped her build from the ground up, but like from the ground up, like colors, fonts, like yeah, it was so intense. I'm like, "I'm not a brand designer," but we got along really well, and she's like, "Well, I love what you're doing," and it was really intense, but yeah, we do it.
That's awesome. What are some beliefs you had about money before you started your business versus what you believe now?
So many. I feel like so many. I feel like if you're a business owner, you, like, grow and evolve, like, overnight. Um, so I believe that money was scarce and, like, really hard to make and hard to, like, keep, like, hard to hold on to.
Yeah.
My parents' little background, I'm 100% Cuban. I know I look very white, but I'm 100% Cuban. My parents came from Cuba when they were young. They saw their parents, like, multiple jobs, all the things. When I was 18, my mom had to fill out some form in high school about, like, her income. I forget why, but she had to, like, put her monthly income, and we grew up really frugal. But you like, it's crazy what happens when you're young because you don't realize it. Like, our house was nice. We always had groceries, but because of the things that they said, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, oh, well, if you want it, you got to work for it. Like, which again, that's not,
Right.
but the underlying tone is like, you can't have anything unless you work super hard all the time. Um, and like, my mom would never buy anything unless it was on sale. Like, oh, I'll just wait for it to be on sale.
Yeah.
And she wrote down her income. I remember I was 18. She wrote it down on this piece of paper, and I was like, we are rich. What have we been doing? Like, just her monthly income, I'm like, "What have we been doing?" And it's crazy because again, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I did travel ball, softball." They were paying for all the flights, all the like, I in my mind, though, we were, like, probably middle class. But looking back and now, the way that they're living now, like, they're buying houses, like, I'm like, "You guys have been rich this whole time." But but I grew up and before going into business, you carry that with you, so, like, it was hard, like, I'm hustling. Again, I don't think that's, like, bad per se, but it felt like if I stop, it will stop.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, so even having an agency and having a team doing things for you made me really nervous because 'cause I'm like, "Well, if I'm not working, am I gonna keep making the money?" And so now, as a business owner who's, like, gone through so much growth, it's like, you're allowed to rest. Actually, no, you don't have to
Yeah.
work on Sunday, like, I got told, like, "Work on Sundays if you really want it, like, you couple years, you just keep work," and I'm like, "No, like, you're allowed to rest." Money actually doesn't have to be hard, like, it can actually come easy. You can actually attract clients because of the service and value you're providing. You don't have to just work hourly, you don't have to trade your time for money, um and you are allowed to be wealthy, enjoy your life, and not feel like you have to, like, hide it or hoard it, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's
Right.
been my one thing too is, like, sometimes it's really hard for me to, like, spend money on things because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, well,
Mhm.
I don't know if it'll come back," and my husband's like, "Can well, we wanna eat, right? Like, we're out for lunch." Like, he'll be like, "What in the world?" And it's so funny because 'cause I'm like, "You're right." And so, yeah, so much transformation, and it's easy to fall back into those patterns, because it's, like, years and years of things that were crammed into you, but, yeah, once you see the other side, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I was lied to."
Yeah, I feel like there's so much programming we're so used to, and then our business is like a creative outlet and we can create anything, but we still wanna trade our time for money, feel like we can't take time off. There's so much, like, fear.
Totally. Yeah, and I've had to do this thing where I just, like, stop in my day, and I'm like, "Look, I can not work and still make money," you know? It's crazy, it's crazy.
And I feel like you're doing such, like, incredible work. You're helping other women, like, build their VA businesses, double their income, cut their hours. What's, like, one shift you had to make, like, internally? Like, did you do a lot of inner work, maybe worked with a therapist? Like, what has really helped you so that you can, like, support your clients so that they can build, like, a healthy kind of business around their lifestyle?
Yeah, I did actually work with a therapist. That getting laid off was, like, actually really a lot harder than I thought emotionally. It felt like a betrayal almost. So I definitely worked with a therapist. I've invested in multiple business coaches. And I think the shift that I had to make that some days I still have to make, but the shift that I have to, like, come back to is, like, I am enough, like, regardless of
Right.
anything happening. If I lose a client, if I land a client, like, I'm enough. If I like, regardless of what's happening in my business or my world, coming back to that because I had someone tell me, when I launched my agency, it was, like, really stressful because I, like, never done it. It was, like, this whole thing. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" Felt like I would say I felt like I was dying because it was, like, this whole shift of, like, bringing on people and all this, but I had a friend tell me, she's like, "You could literally blow up your business and in 2 weeks, start again, and you'd be just as successful." She's like, "I have no doubt." And that was I was like, oh, I don't think I believe that about myself, like, and so it's coming back to, like, I am enough. Again, I just talked about my parents, and I seriously freaking love them, like, they're amazing, but it was a lot of, like, the way they were raised, it was a lot of, like, go to school, get straight A's, you got a B? Like, feeling like I wasn't enough, it was very, like, performative. So, like, I feel like I always have to be doing in order to get approval, and so coming back to, like,
Right.
"No, I'm enough." Whether I'm sitting on the couch or doing a podcast interview, like, I am enough regardless of my work, how much I make, where I live, all the things.
That totally makes sense. And are there certain conversations you're having with your kids right now?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. So many conversations, Cindy, like, I am, like, try to be so intentional with them because even I have to, like, be like, tell my husband, "Don't say that." Like, he'll say things like it's just, like, comes out, right? It's programming, it's like, we were taught this, so many things that, like, we were taught, right? So he'll say stuff like, even just it'll slip out, "Oh, like, no, it's too expensive." I'm like, "It's not too expensive, we just don't wanna put our money there." And, like, so there's so many conversations where I'm having to have with them, but I enjoy it, but I don't even know if it, like, gets in there, but I'm like, "It is, it's getting in there somewhere."
Yeah.
But yeah, I have conversations all the time, even around silly things, like, my daughter's getting into makeup right now, and so which is fine and great, but I always, like, wanna reassure her in a way that's not it's like teetering, right? But I'm like, "Hey, you're beautiful without it." But I love how creative you are. Where my husband wants to go straight to, like, "You don't need it. You don't," and I'm like, we have to have different conversations. Like, I wanna change the narrative around things. And so, yeah, we have lots of conversations. I try to tell her all the time, like, she would come to me with grades, like, "Mom, I got this." I'm like, I don't care though. Like, as long as you tried your best, you're enough. I don't care. And so, that's also really intentional work and kind of exhausting sometimes, but but I think it's worth it because 'cause I'm like, "Man, I want my kid to grow up to just know, like, that she's enough and she can rest, also, like, be ambitious, yes, do the things." So it's, like, a hard line to walk, and I know I make mistakes all the time, but I'm like, if I
Yeah.
could just help her a little bit more than I was helped, like, that'll make the world of difference to me.
I feel like, yeah, just the awareness piece of, like, reframing things because like, you're so, like, on autopilot on things you say, like, "You need to work for that, money doesn't grow on trees." I feel like everyone's heard that growing up, and it's just automatically, like, ingrained in you.
It is, yeah, and it's hard because 'cause it'll just come out, especially when you're, like, tired after a long day,
Yeah.
and they, like, ask you and you're like, "Oh, man, I really don't even wanna get into that," but it's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be like, just for all the parents out there, sometimes I'm just like, "Hey, that's, like, a really important conversation. I don't have the bandwidth to talk about that right now. Can we come back and talk about it tomorrow?" And they'll remind me. So that's, like, something I have to do too because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, I am exhausted and I cannot get into that right now, but we need to talk about that." So, yeah.
And then how about, like, with your parents? Do you have these kind of conversations now, just sharing, like, thoughts that are coming up that you had from childhood?
Yeah, so it wasn't as easy with them, I feel like, because you still, like, want their approval, right? There's still things where you're like,
Right.
but, yeah, I've had lots of conversations now, and it's so funny because my dad has been an entrepreneur all my life as well, and so even starting my business, like, super worried, super like, "Oh, are you I'm like, "Dad, you did this all your like, what? You did this all your life." But I love reminding my mom of the fact that she acted poor when we we had so much and talking through that with her because it's also important how they talk to my kids, right? So, like, certain things they
Right.
say to them, is also being ingrained. So, I will catch them a lot, not in a mean way, but just like, "Oh, no, actually," and, like, say it a different way, but, yeah, we have great conversations now. Me and my dad are really, really close because of business, I think, and it's easy to talk to him about certain things. Um, and I think, like, now that I'm a grown up and we can kinda come with different perspectives and opinions, being like, "Hey, so actually," and just have those conversations, it's been really, really fruitful.
That's awesome. I feel like we need to have more conversations about that.
Oh my gosh, we could. For real, we should.
And what's, like, your guilty pleasure on, like, spending money on?
Oh my gosh, travel, like vacation.
Yeah.
Literally, we like, it could be anywhere, and I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, let's go this weekend." My husband's like, "Can you calm down?" He's like we always talk about, like, we, like, try to be mindful of our money and, like, budget, like, where things are going, investments, all that. But he's like, "Literally, if I just bring up vacation," he's like, "All that goes out the window for you," and you're like, "Yeah, let's go tomorrow. Let's book it." He's like, "You don't care." I'm like, "I know. I just love it. I love traveling with my kids." Again, we didn't do that a whole lot growing up. We definitely did, like, probably once or twice a year, but I'm like, I wanna show my kids everything, and, like, it's just so fun, experience new cultures and all that, so that would definitely be, like, and then on the smaller scale, I will say, on the smaller scale, I think, like, treats, which is so bad, I'm such a sweet tooth still. Give me
Me too.
yeah, a chocolate bar, like a cake, like a cup like, if I see it and I'm like, "Oh, I want that," like, I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna buy it, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's a guilty pleasure or even, like, something like going for a massage or doing something.
Totally. Oh, yeah, and my hair, yeah. See, for me, like, non-negotiable, my husband hates it, and he's like, "Babe," I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta be looking good, okay?" It's part of my brand. I'm just kidding.
What's one piece of advice you would give, like, another woman that's started her business, just overcomplicating things and just has lost, like, a sense of direction?
Your questions are really good. I've been on quite a few podcasts.
Thank you.
Like, questions are great. Honestly, I would say to, like, shut out the noise and get back to, like, your why you started, like, what your vision is. I've had to do this multiple times, like, there's and I love social media, I love, like, making connections, obviously, that's why I'm on this podcast, like, I love it, but there's a point where if you're consuming too much because listen, everyone has a different strategy and they all work. The truth is, like, they all work. You just have to find what works for you, but if you're constantly consuming the noise, you're gonna be pulled a million different directions, and when you can, like, shut it all out and be like, "Okay, why do I wanna do this? How do I wanna do this? How do I wanna build? Like, what do I want it to look like?" And listen to your voice. I'm not saying never listen to other people, but there is a time and place to really shut it out, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or, like, confused. Because obviously, if you've started a business, like, you already are ahead of a lot of people who, like, are afraid to. If you haven't started a business, just wait because you'll like, consuming is not bad, learning is not bad, but it can get to a place where you're so overwhelmed because Bob over here says one thing and then Susan says to do the complete opposite, and you're looking at them and they're both, like, millionaires, and you're like, "Crap, what do I do?" And then yeah, you try to do a little of both and it doesn't work, and it's like, it's not you. Like, you gotta find what works for
Right.
you, how you wanna lead, and then take that and run with it.
Yeah, I feel like people lose like a sense of themselves when they get so consumed by these like online coaches, online accounts telling you to do like so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally been me too, by the way, like, 100%,
Yeah.
100%, but yeah.
Yeah, because you see someone online doing like the 50K months and they have a certain lifestyle they portray online. And it's just like you want that too. But deep down, like, you don't even want that number. It's more of just, like, spending more time with your kids maybe or, like, going on vacation and doing these things. But I feel like we don't actually take the time to actually think about those things. It's just what we see.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, a lot of people and I know, like, the marketing to certain numbers is, like, such a thing right now,
Yeah,
but you're right, it's like the underlying thing that they want may not even be the money. Like, I had one of my students be like, "I actually like, it's okay is it okay if I, like, don't really care for, like, the 10K months? Like, if I'm making this amount, but I have, like, the freedom and time to do what I want?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes." Like, I'm so sorry if you feel like it's been, like, you have to make 10K months, like, no, it's like,
yeah.
what is the feeling for you that you wanna get to, and how can you get there?
Right, and what feels good to you, like, some people might not even want, like, a full-time kind of business. Maybe it's just, like, part-time or working around their kids' schedules.
Yeah,
Yet it's just, like, hustle culture and everything you see online is the opposite.
totally, yeah, so true, yeah.
What does wealth mean to you?
Mm, so good. I think being rich, wealth means to me, like, how my days look like. Like, if I'm wealthy, I do have that time freedom, like, I do have the choice. That actually means I have the choice to work if I want, but it
Right.
also means, like, I have the choice to close my laptop and, like, be fully present with my kids, and, I also think wealth is kinda like what we talked about, like, leaving things to your with your family. Does that mean money? Sure, but also, like, raising them up in a way again, we all have things that we're like, "Man, I wish my parents would have done that differently," like, actually
Yeah.
taking the time to do that. Or even if you don't have kids and it's like you have nieces and nephews around you or like like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
investing in the generation below us, and then also I think it's, I know it sounds like so dumb, but, like, being happy is, like, part of being wealthy. I think a lot of times, like we've talked about, is like you could be constantly chasing after this one goal of like 50K months and be miserable. Whereas, okay,
Yeah.
if you're at 50, 15, let's say you're at 15K months and you're like so happy, like, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and so I think true wealth, I definitely, of course, having enough to do things is huge. Having enough to like do what you want to do if you want to buy organic groceries. But there's this point of like, I think we just get so hungry. I had this realization when I hit my first 10K month where I was like not even celebrating it because I was already on to the next milestone. And I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what just happened? And I had to realize and was like, wait, I don't even think I remember telling my husband, I'm like, I don't even think I fully celebrated this. I've already made my next like milestone to get to. And I think we can get so caught up in that. And I think wealth is like being content where you are and then having the freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it.
I totally agree. Like, next week, it's gonna be 3 years for me starting my business, and I feel like I've gone through so much, but I've never taken the time to actually, like, celebrate it and, like, process it. It's just like, "Got this done, now on to the next thing, on to the next thing." But it's just like, we've done so much in that time, but we feel like it's never enough.
100%. 100%, which is back to my, like, never enough thing, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
always more, always more." Yeah, which is such a culture thing too, I feel like, not just, like, parents, it's also just, like, a culture thing that's been, like, infused into us.
Yeah, I totally agree. What's the best way for our audience to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram is pretty much where I hang out the most, at the Kaelyn Marie. And then from there, you can find our agency, Instagram, and then my website is kaelynmarieva.com. But yeah, Instagram is my main platform, so that's probably the only one I will give out because that's pretty much where.
That's awesome. I'll share Kaylin's details in the show notes as well. Kaylin, thank you so much for joining me on her wealthy mindset.
Thank you for having me. That was so fun.